Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Welcome back to Shifa'a.
We miss you guys so much. It's only been 2 weeks. Anyways.
I know. Lately, we've been spending a lot of time together and really just reveling in the beauty of our friendship. And we thought we'd share ideas with you guys and just our experiences. And honestly, me and I say this so much, but we're just so grateful, alhamdulillah, for our friendship because it's so hard to find good friends.
And I feel like we are so in tune with one another and that we really just understand each other to a level. And I really do pray for a friendship like this for anybody. Like, it's a blessing to have in your life.
Especially with the fact that our lives don't necessarily overlap in many ways, right? It's not like we're going to family events together. We're not going to school together. We will sign up for extracurriculars and stuff like that together. But initially, our lives don't really overlap in these ways that we're forced to be friends. It's more of a voluntary friendship.
Yeah, that's true. We choose to hang out. We choose to see each other.
We choose to, fuel our friendship. Honestly, some tips that I have for, other people to find good friends. I know that a lot of times people hear it and be like, a lot of tips that people hear, be yourself, and you'll find people. But even, what does being yourself mean? Because I feel like it is kind of difficult, when you're meeting new people, just downright, expose your sense of humor.
Yeah.
Especially with, our sense of humor. It's so corny. You could tell us a dad joke, and we will start crying.
We will laugh.
That's the type of people we are.
Yeah.
Sometimes I make jokes in front of, new people who I just become friends with, and they don't get it. And I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be myself.
Don't be yourself.
I feel like it's really, being yourself. I feel like it really comes down to your morals and your values.
Yeah.
That's something you definitely cannot compromise on. And, interests, a lot of people are like, oh, you should have the same interests with people.
Yeah.
That is definitely a good starting point. But a friendship has to go so far beyond just your interests.
I feel like you could build a friendship off of just morals and values, whereas you can't just build a friendship off of interests. But having the same morals and values and then having interests to add on to that will strengthen your friendship, obviously. But you just building it off of the fact that you go to the same school, or just building it off of the fact that you like the same sport, you're not gonna really get much out of that friendship, because it has to be more in depth. You have to understand each other on a more deeper level.
Even with let's say I'm playing on a sports team and I become friends with someone, or not necessarily close friends, but more hey, everyday type of friends, and I don't feel like I can really continue that friendship off the court, because although we do have the same interests when we're playing basketball together, I don't feel like our morals and priorities align in the way where I can continue a long-term friendship. But
and that's the difference, is that there's so many different types of friendships, and you don't have to have a long-term, we see each other every day, text, FaceTime friendship with every single person you meet. Some people are only good in certain settings, and we have to just let it be, leave those boundaries be. But to just chase after a friendship that, you're just pushing it unnaturally, it's not going to do you any good.
Also, common values in a friendship is so important, especially when people prioritize things differently than you. I personally prioritize my education school a lot, and so does Ayat. And I don't think we could ever be friends with someone who, doesn't care about it, skips class all the time, all that stuff. Yes, I procrastinate, but I still get it done.
Yeah.
Being friends with someone who doesn't prioritize that, or doesn't prioritize family and stuff, it's such a different way, because these things I feel are almost moral pillars, moral principles. Even religion aside, someone can have not necessarily Islamic values, but someone can have different almost morals that align with Islam without being Muslim.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is that having that cultural understanding, I feel a lot of people from what part of the world we're from, even if they're not Muslim, they still have that same cultural moral being, Indians that are not Muslim, or Albanians, or whatever it is, whoever isn't Muslim but still kind of holds that same cultural background, same cultural values, understand the values and morals that we have in our religion. So that dynamic works.
It's because the boundaries, I feel people of the same almost cultural background have similar boundaries, and they're able to respect them. And that's so important in a friendship, because my boundaries may be that I don't want someone to speak to me a certain way, but someone doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
And then if I bring it up, they consistently don't get it.
Yeah.
I feel like that for me is where a friendship would end.
Yeah. Or manners.
Like, you that's know, a big one.
When you're first starting to get to know a friend and you guys are going over to each other's houses, being respectful with their family, interacting with their family, just checking up, how are you, auntie, how are you, uncle? That all is in our culture. You have to have those types of manners to keep a friendship going.
Manners is such a big one to me, especially when you open your home up to someone.
Yeah.
The worst betrayal for me in a friendship is when I bring you to my house and I let you, like, meet my family, and I, like, do all of that, and in the end you end up being, like, rude or you end up betraying the friendship. That is the biggest betrayal in a friendship to me. I literally have never had a bigger betrayal than that.
Because it's, like, it's a deep level to have somebody over at your house. And then, like, I don't understand how people could, like, just not say hi to your mom or, like, not pick up their plate after they eat, like, just things like that. And these are tiny little, like, quirks, right? This is not a big thing that you could flip out on, but picking up on those small tiny little values, honestly, it's what keeps a friendship going or stops a friendship in its tracks.
Exactly. Like, the way that me and Ayat became friends, we became friends in the most... It doesn't even make sense, really. It was literally me looking out the window. Like, I remember before we had fences and our backyards were, like, facing each other. And so she was playing outside and my mom was cooking. And I was just, like, looking out the window, watching her, kind of creepy, but that's what I was doing.
We were young.
And my mom was like, oh, go play with them. And I was like, are you sure? Like, should I really go? And then I go and I started playing with her. And her older sister was sitting outside, and her mom was inside, and I was like, oh my God, I never knew she had two moms. Because I didn't understand, like,
my older sister was, like, much older than me, so she looked like...
I literally did not understand how families worked.
Yeah.
I think I was, like, 3 or 4 at the beginning. So I was like, oh, like, that's cool. That's nice, you know? And then ever since then, we've just been inseparable. Like, we've been on so many adventures.
Yeah.
We terrorized our neighborhood.
And you know what's so crazy to me is that, from the moment we met each other, we instantly labeled each other best friends. It's not like we knew each other for a while and then, like, when we grew up, we became best friends. It's that the minute we met each other, we became best friends. And the minute we met each other, we were fresh immigrants. Like, I don't even think we spoke the same language, but we still, like, had fun. We still had fun together. I don't even know how we would play or talk or whatever it is, but we still managed. And just knowing how much I value our friendship, when I'm giving friendship advice to other people, I'm always telling them, do not settle for a friend that makes you feel like crap. Because there are people out there that are genuinely sweet.
Exactly. Like, I think, especially the thing with our friendship is that we will consistently choose each other.
Yeah.
I know that people really like effortless friendships, and yes, our relationship is effortless in the sense that we put in work so that it feels seamless. And that's why I feel like a lot of people do this, especially with, like, Muslim TikTok and stuff. They prioritize their relationship or their marriage before it's even happened. And they kind of, like, seek out a partner. And they put this emphasis on it. And they don't put that same emphasis on friendships.
Yeah.
When I feel like friendships are so important and vital at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, yes, like, there is this role of your spouse to fill.
Yeah.
And people are, like... They just kind of want to fill that role and they forget about friendships and like leave them in the background. Don't put effort into them because they're waiting for that relationship.
Or building skills upon a relationship, like girls that are like, I need to learn how to cook so I can find myself a man. But like, how about you learn how to hold a conversation so you can find yourself some friends?
How about you learn how to healthily communicate so you can address problems in a friendship?
Yeah, like there's things that come before a man. And I feel like that's another thing with finding friends is that a lot of girls nowadays are very their lives revolve around things that are so surface level that you don't even want to be friends or engage with them in a certain way, like things like just appearance, girls that are just friends with each other just because they're all pretty. That to me is so like surface level. Or like we talked about off when we were not on record, but like girls that just have a friendship revolving around a dude. Like,
oh my god, those ones. That one will always get me, are like friendships or like friend groups where they're only really talking about boys and boy problems, because what do you do when there are no boy problems?
Yeah.
Are you creating boy problems
Yeah.
just so you can be friends with each other?
No, I just want to know, when these girls get married or in happy relationships, like, what are you going to talk about with your friends now?
That's why I feel like it imbalances your whole life then.
Yeah. Because it revolves around a dude. Like,
Exactly.
why are we doing this, girls? Why are we revolving our whole life around a dude?
Ladies. And I feel like that's also where, like, they kind of, like, push friendship in an unnatural direction.
Yeah.
Like, not every friend has to be a lifelong friend, but you try to push that narrative that this person has to be my best friend because I need a best friend right now.
Yeah, exactly. You're just trying to fill that role. Like, I need a best friend, so I'm just going to pick the first person. But like I said before, don't settle for somebody, because a best friend is literally one of the most important people in your lives. This is somebody that you share things with that you don't share with your parents, and share things with that you wouldn't share with a spouse. Like, this is a significantly different person in your life, and if they're gonna make you feel like crap, or if this person's gonna be surface level, or they only talk about themselves, or they make everything feel like a competition, or they're jealous, or there's so many qualities that I see in best friends, there's no need to have that person in your life.
What do you think is, like, necessary to maintain either a really good friendship or a lifelong friendship?
I think just like purity and clear intentions with one another. Like, you want to be friends with each other, best friends with each other, because you genuinely enjoy each other's company. I feel like that's so pure, whereas if you're trying to always force it, like, it's not gonna last very long.
Even like with people who try to gain something, like if someone has a job and they're in a higher position, you're like, oh well, I need to be friends with that person because they can get me something.
Exactly.
And that type of friendship ends up being so bad, and that's why, like, sincerity, it's so important for a friendship, because, like, if I don't want to sincerely be friends with you, it's gonna end up showing up later on,
or leeching on to like a rich friend just because they have all these like amazing rich things. Like, all that is not gonna keep the friendship going, because at a certain point, that's not how life's always gonna be.
Along with sincerity, I feel like honesty is such a big one, because if there's something that I feel is wrong, then I feel like I need to be able to have that safe space to communicate it in a friendship.
And then also, something that ties in with honesty is like being able to like take in feedback,
Yes.
not just being on the defense and being like, no, you just want to do this, you just want to argue. Like, genuinely taking that feedback in and being like, wait, am I being like this right now? Like, am I being selfish? Am I being like,
because sometimes we don't notice.
We don't
notice how we're treating someone else, or maybe we think something is acceptable and the other person doesn't necessarily find it acceptable. So even if that's not necessarily an exact situation that you guys have talked about before, being able to communicate about it and work on it is so important. Having that ability to bounce back without letting it majorly affect the relationship.
And I feel like something that goes with that is vulnerability. You need to be able to be vulnerable with your friend and feel no judgment, Like,
100%.
Because otherwise, if you keep having these barriers up and you're leaving things out of the friendship, leaving feelings out, like, it's not going to create that pure, sincere friendship that you wish for, Like, being able to just, if you're having a bad day, let it all out onto somebody and, like, genuinely be honest about your feelings rather than bottle it up. It's going to help you in the long run.
Because you need to be able to respect someone's vulnerability, too.
Yeah.
And, like, respecting their vulnerability, their space, their boundaries, respecting them as a person. I feel like a lot of friendships, you can kind of feel the dynamic, or one person thinks that they're better than the other.
Yeah.
And those types of friendships, you can already tell they're not going to last.
Yeah.
There needs to be this mutual respect where you see each other as equals, and you see each other as, like, humans, and you know that, like, you guys are going to work together to continue this friendship.
I feel like also there doesn't need to be much struggle in a friendship.
It's true.
Like, if you're struggling too much to keep a friendship going, then maybe it's not
the right one.
You don't need that added stress. Like, a friendship should be something lightweight. Obviously, there's going to be issues, there's going to be hard times, but it should not be as deep as you struggling in a friendship,
I feel like when it comes down to, like, struggling, there's almost like a misjudgment. Like, I had this question earlier too, where if someone makes a so-called mistake, is that a mistake that you talk about, or is that like a judgment on their character? And we kind of discussed this, and we were like, well, it depends on like what the mistake is and how many so-called mistakes they make. Because if it's a continuous pattern that you've addressed and you've told them about, and they continue to do it, then it becomes a judgment of their character.
Yeah, it does. And the fact that they don't respect you enough to change that, or to like alter the way that they act with that certain type of trait, then that means that there's like, they don't respect you. You know, you're constantly putting that out to somebody and constantly being like, this hurts me, or you know what, this is not nice of you. And you say that multiple times and this person just brushes you off. They do not care about you or care about your well-being. And that's not something you need in a friendship. At the end of the day, you need to know that like a friendship is not something you should settle for. So you can't be like, oh, you know what, I need to compromise this, like let them be themselves and whatnot. No, you know, you could have a friendship that's not struggle. You can have a friendship where you're not constantly like addressing issues all the time.
I feel like friendships are very easy in the sense that I feel like it really comes down to two things, where it's time and respect. Because it really is just like, oh, do you want to hang out? Okay, yes, let's go do this. Okay, we can respect each other. We can spend time without disrespecting each other. And I feel like it's really just time.
I feel like the morals also like really does play a big part.
Yeah, like that's a basis, but to maintain a friendship, you know, like respect and time.
I remember when me and Khadija were younger, we were fiending for a third friend.
And
we were trying to literally vote and elect a third friend to join like our little group. And we were like, me and Khadija work so well, we need a third person. And I'm pretty sure
we were kind of bullies. Like, I'm gonna be so honest, we were bullies. And we had we had a name for it, but we didn't have a third person.
Yeah.
We were called Trifecta.
And we didn't have the third person.
I think we saw it on the show. Yeah. I think it was it Ant Farm?
It was either Ant Farm or Good Luck Charlie.
It was one of them, and they had like a band, and it was called Trifecta because it was three of them.
Yeah, okay.
And so we were like, oh, we need a Trifecta.
Yeah.
And so I think there was 3 people who we tried to add.
No, there was definitely more.
I think
I have more in my head.
I remember 3. I only remember 3.
We went around the neighborhood. Anybody that qualified, was our age, went to our school,
was a girl.
Like, we tried to elect them to become part of our like friend group, and it just did not work out.
I remember there was one girl. We were so
Poor
bad.
Girl.
Oh my god. I'm literally thinking about it. And so basically, she was my neighbor. She was our age. And so we kind of like, we would hang out, you know, ride our bikes together. And then one time we were like, I don't think this is working. I think we need to sit her down and talk about it. Mind you, we're in like grade 4 and 5.
Maybe younger.
It was something around, I think it might have been younger. But we were literally sitting there and we sat her down on the side of the curb.
Like parents.
I remember it was you on one side and me on the other side, her in the middle.
She was in the middle.
And we're like, hey, so we kind of just want to talk to you about this. Like, I really don't think this is working for us because, like, me and Ayat, we come from, like, this cultural background. I think it's really a culture thing.
Yeah.
You just don't understand us the way you should.
A little background is, like, she's not Muslim. Okay, she wasn't Muslim. And so we were like, no, this is not working. Like, this is not working. And poor girl was
not the
what?
one for us.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, we even, like, tried it with other Muslim girls, and it just did not work.
It's so
we were
funny.
looking for,
oh my god.
We were looking for a friend that we felt.
And the funny thing is, it became, like, known that we were looking for this third friend.
Yeah.
And so I remember this one girl came up to us and was like, so you guys were looking for a third friend. Like, and we're like, yeah, anyone but you. Yeah. We were so bad.
People were, like, applying for the position. We're like,
might as well put it on LinkedIn at that point.
We were putting up flyers, like, looking for the
we
third
were
trifecta.
So desperate, and we really realized that it doesn't work.
Yeah, we were good on our own, I think. And you know what really tested our friendship to the limits was when I moved out of that neighborhood.
Oh my god, I remember that.
Wait, this is coming. Like, what if this friendship comes to an end?
It was right before you started high school.
Yeah.
And I was still in grade 8. I remember it was like night. It was like maybe 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I remember like, I was like, oh, she's moving away today. She's moving 10, 15 minutes away. Yeah. But I was like, that's it. Like, this is really gonna test our friendship. Like,
Yeah,
I was
that's
having
what
an
I thought,
existential
yeah.
crisis at that point. And I remember, like, Ayat, like, called, and she's like, oh, we're coming. And I could already hear her, like, trying to stop crying. And she's walking up the stairs to my house, and she's sobbing.
I remember your mom answered the door, and I don't think she knew, but, like, I was crying, and she's like, what's wrong? What happened? And I was like, we're leaving.
I know. And then I came out, and we stood there, we cried for so long.
cried.
And our moms were like, guys,
Bruh.
you're gonna see
Yeah.
each other. Like, I'm gonna take you.
I'm pretty sure we saw each other, like, the week after.
I know. I was like, guys, I'm literally gonna take you. Like, I'm gonna take you to her house. Don't
But
worry.
it was, like,
and I was like,
that fear that the friendship would not keep going.
I think it was also just that living so close to each other was so convenient.
Yeah.
Because I remember before we had fences, like, the backyard door is glass. I would literally be sitting there, coming home from school, eating my cereal or whatever, and all I see is Aya on the outside knocking on my door. Auntie, can Khadija come to play outside? And I'll be like, no, she's eating right now. Like, Auntie,
I'll, like,
please.
wait on the steps.
Auntie,
I don't
please.
care.
Like, we had literally been inseparable. I remember one time Aya got stomach flu, right? And so I literally went inside with her after her mom called inside because she was getting sick, and I was like, no, I'm not leaving your side. I'm sitting right here next to you. I literally started vomiting, and my mom was like, how did you even get the stomach flu? And I was like, you don't want to know.
I remember Khadija once sent me to the hospital, guys. We were playing cricket on her freaking driveway, okay? And I was right behind
We didn't
her.
have the thing is, okay, first of all, we didn't have a cricket bat, okay?
No,
I don't know
we didn't.
why. I as a Brown family didn't have a cricket bat, and we're like, you know what? It's fine. I have a baseball bat. I have a metal baseball bat, guys.
Yeah.
And so she's staying behind me, right? You're supposed to swing forward. I swung backwards. I was swinging behind me, and I didn't realize. I turned around. I was on the floor.
There was blood everywhere. And let me tell you, I went straight to the hospital to, like, get it checked out. I was fine. Tell me why we came back and I started playing outside again.
She literally calls my mom. And then my mom was like, oh yeah, I was asking if you wanted to play outside. But I told her to rest up a little bit. And I was like, Mama,
through
please.
thick and thin. That's how you know. Through old age, through thick and thin, we were friends, guys.
I've beat this poor girl up with a baseball bat.
I given this girl stomach worms and she was by my side.
We're still here,
We're still
guys.
here.
Honestly, you gotta find yourself one of us.
You gotta find yourself a Khadija and Ayat.
But we're really the OGs. Like, you can't replace us, but you can be similar.
Yeah. That's why, starting this podcast, I feel like whoever's listening is the third person. You guys are part of our trifecta. You're part of our friendship.
So funny. Imagine just like one person listening. I'm like, you are our trifecta.
Guys, by the way, while we're on the topic, make sure to share.
Make sure to share, subscribe, comment down below.
Send this to all your friends.
Whatever platform you're listening on, please support us. We are really trying to just kind of unite the community.
We really are.
It's really just a fun thing. And this podcast is really... It's been so fun.
Yeah.
So even though we are in like the fresh stages, just starting up, I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's been so healing so far. Like, talking about all these topics has genuinely been like a chance for us to reflect and a chance for us to like talk about our interests and what we've learned. So make sure to,
like,
tag
subscribe, comment down below, share, follow, everything.
Literally whatever you can, just boost
anything
it.
you can. Send the link to people. Post it.
Hey.
Sky's the limit, guys.
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
Okay. Assalamualaikum, guys.
Inshallah, till next week, guys.
Bye.
Inshallah.